So let's start. The first thing is what civil services demands. So there has been lots of myths and then stories and then romanticism, I would say, about what UPSC demands or civil services demands. I would go with an objective approach. I would like to refer to the Gadget of India, which is published, and it very much details as what is required. So let's see what actually is asked or has been detailed in Gadget. It says the objective of the interview. I would like to emphasize here that please listen carefully. The objective of the interview is to assess the personality or say personal suitability of the candidate for a career in public service by the board. The important word here is personal suitability. I would come to that. The second point, it says the test is intended to judge the mental caliber. Please note mental caliber of the candidate. This is the second point. The third point, it says this is an assessment of not only his intellectual capabilities or qualities, but also social trait. This is the second point of this particular point, and his interest in current affairs. So there are 3 points in this third important parameter, that is intellectual qualities, social trait, and interest in current affairs. Now the fourth parameter that it has detailed is that some quality to be judged are mental alertness, critical power of assimilation, clear and logical expression, balance of judgment, variety and depth of interest, and ability for social cohesion and leadership and moral integrity. Now I mean, these are 6-7 qualities that is detailed here. I would be talking detail about that, but first let's start as what is the objective of the civil services interview. The point that I earlier had said, that the objective of the interview is to assess the personal suitability. Now what is this personal suitability? It says, and you should interpret it this way, there is nothing called a right or wrong personality. I mean, everybody has got some positive trait and then some weaknesses. I mean, you have got some strength and weaknesses, and overall these strength and weaknesses makes a personality. I mean, you have gained your success or failure out of this set of qualities. So UPSC would try to judge your suitability. I mean, this set of good qualities or say strength and weaknesses. Let me give you one example. There's a person who is extrovert, and then there's a person who is introvert. Now who is suitable? Well, both are suitable, but they should have certain traits. And what are those traits? Say an extrovert person, what UPSC would expect, that extrovert person should be a great motivator. He should be able to lead the team from the front. Now what about introverts? Well, that person or the candidate should be a great listener. He should be able to judge the strength and weakness of his team and should be able to collectively push the team towards the goal. So you see, there are there's nothing called good or bad personality. There's always a suitable personality. That's what this point emphasizes, that personal suitability is required. Now the second point comes, the test is intended to judge your mental caliber. Now what is this mental caliber? Now the instant reaction would be, it's about IQ. No, now that you have got ethics, paper of ethics, so it does include your emotional quotient, that is EQ. So a perfect candidate is the one who has got mix of desired IQ as well as EQ. Now why EQ is required? It is to check or say judge whether that person has got the stability to withstand the pressure that might come, unforeseen situation. how stable that person is in a particular situation or circumstances. IQ would lead a person to solve a problem, but EQ, that is emotional quotient, would actually give him that calmness to withstand the pressure and lead towards the goal. So that's why it is important, and you all must have known, I mean, like, you all have studied that paper, and I'm sure you must have done well. Now the third point says, there are 3 points that I had mentioned. The assessment is to study, I mean, like, not only intellectual qualities but also social trait and interest in current affairs. Let's go one by one. What is this intellectual qualities? When we talk about intellectual quality, I mean, like the way I had said, like IQ and EQ, when I say about intellectual qualities, you got to understand one point, that you should be able to appreciate the situation, and I mean, you should not only be receptive. I mean, like, at times we tend to give our ideas. We should also be receptive. That's what IQ, EQ, and then how much receptive you are basically makes a person an intellectual person. So it definitely is going to judge your intellectual qualities. Now I come to the second part, that is social trait. You all must have seen there are 5 big social trait parameters. Let us talk about those 5 parameters one by one. First is extroversion. That means how social a person is. This is very much required, by the way, when you are posted as district magistrate or say superintendent of police. How social you are. You got to interact with lot many people, pressure groups of different types, not only political leaders but also social pressure groups. At times they would be agitated and the solution is very simple, but since they would be agitated, they might try to pressurize you. How social you are, so that you could calm them down and bring them to the platform where you could discuss with them. So that is what is the required parameter, and it is called extroversion. And then the second parameter is agreeableness. Usually warm, friendly person. But if you're warm, you are friendly, at the same time you should be optimistic, and you should know the boundary where, I mean, like, you can accommodate others, at the same time you should not be losing your ground. Now the point is, you should be optimistic about what? Say, I mean, like, let me give example. Say somebody asks you, I mean, like, is Indian democracy working, do you think? Well, here you would have to show how optimistic are you about the working of democracy. You might have hundreds of reasons that democracy is not working, but you got to understand that with 130 crore people, we are doing reasonably well. We are going forward. So this is one of the example. I mean, it shows that how optimistic you are. Now the third point comes emotional stability. Well, I have talked about it. In emotional quotient, you got to be stable in adverse situation, and you would be given questions related to some incident or some situation where actually the board would give you provocative hints, or say they would try to provoke you to give, I mean, like, to become emotional and give emotionally charged answer or explanation. By that, they would try to actually check your emotional stability. A stress interview is also a part of judgment of your emotional stability. How stable are you in adverse situation? Well, there can be example of, say, Khap Panchayat, your SP, you go there and then you see that Khap Panchayat is trying to execute a couple. So how coolly, either you have one solution, just order for firing, or how easily or how coolly you handle the situation and take that couple out of that khap panchayat, or you try to that disperse the tension. That is about emotional stability. Now the fifth point comes openness. Openness means what? Well, when we have knowledge about certain topic, and if we are expert at that topic, we generally tend to shut the door for incoming ideas. So we should be able to not only give our idea, but we should be open to criticism, taking ideas. See, you might have you are in a position of taking a decision, but you might get an idea from down the hierarchy. So are you open to that idea? I mean, like taking criticism. It might happen in your interview that you have given some idea, you have given one answer, and the board member corrects you. Now you might be into confusion. You might not be aware about that particular point. So that becomes really a tricky situation. So what exactly would you do? Either you simply say that no, I don't agree to that idea, sir, because I know this. He's trying to create a confusion in you. Or you might say, okay, sir, I'm not aware about this particular dimension. I'll think about it. Or you might come to a point where actually you had missed a point and the board member has pointed out that you missed this point. How coolly, without getting nervous or agitated, you accept that idea that, sorry, sir, I missed this point and I apologize and I take this point and I stand corrected. That's what is called openness.
Thank you for watching the video. Transcend is our flagship interview guidance program. To improve your chances in personality test, enroll in our Transcend program and get personalized attention. Link to enroll for the program is in the description below.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civil's Daily.